Welcome to Your Family's Health, the program that focuses on healthcare issues with unique and different modalities for taking charge of your health today. Experts talk weekly with our continuing roster of guests from around the country and right here in Nassau County to keep you up to date on the latest health issues and trends. Take care of your mind, body, and soul. Spend the next half hour with the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and get on the journey to better health.
Hello, and welcome to Your Family's Health. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College, along with my co-host, Pascal Thomas, who is completing her master's in nursing education. And today, we're talking about love and challenges that come with caring for a premature baby. Our guest today is Karen Lasby. She is a neonatal advanced nursing specialist, master's prepared nurse, and author of a book called Preemie Care. Her 35-plus career in nursing includes NICU, neonatal ICU roles, as bedside nurse, transport nurse, educator, pediatrics, pediatric intensive care, and community health. Karen leads a specialized nursing team in post-discharge follow-up of extremely premature infants and their families, the only team of its kind in Canada. Her book, Preemie Care, is a source for parents of premature babies. Karen, welcome to Your Family's Health on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for the invitation.
And it's so good to talk to a nurse. So tell me, how did you choose premature infants as a focus of practice and study?
Well, premature care has a bit of a sordid beginning, and I was quite intrigued by how this all came to be. There was a French obstetrician who really saw the need to help the tiniest babies and to keep them warm and feed them in a very careful way. And a student of his actually took the concept, because hospitals weren't really ready to have heating babies in the hospital yet. So a colleague of his took the idea and started a traveling roadshow, can you believe it?
Wow. And
took premature babies who the hospitals couldn't afford to pay for their care, parents couldn't afford to pay for their care, took these babies and had an exhibit where the public could pay money to come and see these premature babies. In fact, this traveling roadshow came to Coney Island, and there was an exhibit there for many, many years, and the public would pay 25 cents to come and see these tiny, tiny, tiny babies. And this doctor is reported to have saved 7,000 premature babies, and we're talking the early 1900s. So when I was doing my master's degree, I was intrigued by this history and thought, what is this care of these fragile babies all about? And I just had a driving passion to help not only these little ones, but also these parents with the big eyes and shocked faces who were facing this daunting challenge of having a premature baby.
Okay, good. I know there are several research studies about premature babies. Can you tell us what your role has been in investigating any studies and what you have found?
Yes. So I've participated in a couple studies. The first one, we did a randomized controlled trial where half of the babies were followed by a neonatal nursing specialist after NICU care. So oftentimes we say goodbye to these families at the time they leave the hospital care, and we say good luck and leave them be and just hope that there's help out there in the community. So I took half of the team and half of the population, and we had a neonatal nursing specialist follow them in their homes and just make sure we fostered their growth and their development. And that actually is why the program that I manage today exists, is because of the success of that program. Just showing that these babies and families need some tender, loving care on the other side of the NICU. We just can't drop them off and wish them good luck. And my co-author and I, Tammy Sherrow and I, have done studies on looking at the impact of feeding and reflux on the family and just the ongoing feeding challenges. So we've done qualitative studies looking at that. And as well, we have a breastfeeding study that we did and showed that specialized follow-up after discharge facilitates breastfeeding and keeps these babies in breast milk much longer than if they didn't have that specialized care. So the impact of specialized neonatal care after NICU is coming more and more to light with research.
So define for us what is a neonate in terms of age.
Yes. And it can be a little bit confusing. So most pregnancies last about 40 weeks. So if you think that that's the magic number, your baby is officially full term. Well, if a baby is born, say, 2 or 3 weeks early, we still think you're close enough to being full term. And so babies that are 6 weeks, 3 weeks to 6 weeks early, we call those babies late preterm babies. So they kind of look like full-term babies, but they're not full-term babies. They do act and behave and feed differently than full-term babies. So truly they are premature babies. And then the babies who are more than, say, 6 weeks early, so they're coming at 33 weeks gestation out of the 40 of full term, those babies are then premature. And prematurity can be anywhere from 22, 23 weeks. So we're talking 17, 18 weeks early. And we'd break that down into early preterm and very preterm. And but nevertheless, any baby who's born more than 3 weeks early is considered preterm.
And how common are premature deliveries?
More common than you might think. So about 10% of babies worldwide are premature, and in the United States, it's about 11.4%. So the average is a little bit higher in the United States. So about 500,000 babies are born in the United States prematurely. And that's 15 million babies born preterm worldwide. So it is truly a global issue. That's in Canada, we probably have about 8% of our babies are born preterm.
Well, that's a large population. Have we decided or determined why this is so prevalent?
I wish we had all the answers, but the majority of babies are born preterm without any pre-existing signs or warning. Most of the time, mothers and fathers will say, well, the pregnancy was going perfectly well, and suddenly we've got this baby is needing to come out. So sometimes we can look back and say, mother's blood pressure was up, her sugar levels were unstable, she wasn't feeling healthy, the placenta wasn't a healthy organ. Maybe retrospectively we can look at this, and it's so hard to pinpoint. There is not one thing that is causing prematurity. And nevertheless, preterm birth rates remain stubbornly high around the world, despite lots of interventions obstetrically with the pregnant woman. So unfortunately, we can't seem to get these numbers down much further.
And what is the earliest delivery that you have seen in practice?
Well, myself, I've probably seen babies about 17 weeks early,
Wow.
so that they're about 23 out of the 40 weeks. And those babies are extremely tiny. just last December, a baby was born in San Diego, and this is the tiniest baby on record, and that's a 245 grams, or only 8.5 ounces.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
If you just look at an apple, that's about the weight of this baby. And that baby was discharged home this past summer.
Oh, wow.
A U.S. baby is now reported to be the smallest baby on record to survive.
And so you mentioned for babies that size, how are they provided nutrients to grow? I mean, I'm the opposite end. I'm a geriatrician. So how are you providing nutrients for them at that small baby?
Yes, and when neonatal care first was developed, they realized that these babies cannot suck and swallow milk. So how do we get the milk into them? So we are feeding them by tube. We are feeding them intravenously. So we're trying to optimize their nutrition so that despite the fact they came early, we're trying to make sure they have all the key nutrients and calories and that is going to allow them to grow at an optimal rate. And so that might be most of these premature babies are fed by tube. In some countries, they're fed by little cups. But what is known is what is put into their stomach is really important to how that baby grows. And putting mother's own milk or that mother's breast milk into her premature baby's belly is one of the most precious gifts that a mother can give. Yes. And it does show long term that these babies are no doubt healthier. They have fewer medical problems when they're in the hospital, and they thrive on their mother's breast milk. So how we put it in and what we put in, we have found to be very important for premature survival.
Okay. I know you touched on survival rates before. Can you tell us what are the survival rates for a premature baby at 28 weeks, 32 weeks?
Yeah. So the smaller the baby, it stands to reason, the more fragile, and therefore the lower the chance of survival. And so a baby at, say, around 28 weeks, their survival rate over the years has shown to be very positive. 90% of those babies will survive. And so a baby who's born a month later, say 32 weeks, 95% of those babies will survive. You can contrast that to a baby born at 23 weeks, which is some of the smallest and youngest babies I've seen. I mean, their chance of survival is around 20 to 50%. So yes, every week that they can stay inside their mother's womb and grow and be nourished, the chances of survival really come up quickly.
So I know you spoke about these preemies surviving and going home, but has studies found that there are developmental challenges with these preemies as they grow?
That's true. So they do seem to have, because they're so early, because they have oftentimes medical insults that during their fragile NICU stay, if you Google prematurity, you will find that developmental delay is very common in babies that were born preterm. So and so this is something. Some of these. Back in the 1960s, we thought that premature babies are so fragile, we shouldn't touch them. We should just kind of let them be. And unfortunately, that kind of care carried forward for many, many months and years. And so families would take home these premature babies and go, oh, no, she doesn't need, don't stress her. We're just going to really take care of her. We're not going to challenge her. We're not going to stimulate her because she was premature and she's fragile. And so we ended up creating developing causing a developmental delay in these babies because they weren't exposed to sounds and visual things to look at and stimulation of their bodies in order for them to thrive. So today, our developmental issues are decreasing because we know so much more about what premature babies need in terms of ongoing support for for weeks and months down the road. And that's what we dedicated an entire chapter on development, because we know that working with our babies, with doing tummy time exercises and strengthening their head and their shoulders and their bodies, we know that we can encourage development and try to keep these babies to be on track. The very, very premature babies, they often have developmental issues, and probably about 20% are going to have some ongoing issues with development.
Let's take a quick break. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College, along with co-host Pascal Thomas, who is completing her master's in nursing education. And today we're talking to Karen Lasby, who is a neonatal advanced nurse specialist, master's prepared nurse, and author of Preemie Care, a guide to to navigate the first year with a premature baby. You're listening to Your Family's Health, the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Anita Chandra with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Did you know e-cigarettes can be just as addictive as regular cigarettes? This is especially true for teenagers whose brains are still developing. Parents should learn the names for e-cigarettes and what they look like. Talk to your teen about the dangers of nicotine. Often, teens who start with e-cigarettes take up other forms of tobacco. For more information, visit healthychildren.org and talk with your pediatrician.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
We now return to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Thanks for being with us today. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College, along with my co-host Pascal Thomas, who is completing her master's in nursing education. And today we're talking with Karen Lasby, who is a neonatal advanced nursing specialist, master's prepared nurse, and author of Preemie Care, a guide to navigate the first year with a premature baby. So, hi. We're going to ask you another question. This is fascinating, learning about premature babies.
Yes, Karen, so do you think that there's an age for women that limits their chances of having a premature birth?
They have shown that the very young and the older pregnant women are more at risk of having a premature birth. So that would be young women under the age of 20 and women over the age of 40. So they seem to have a greater prevalence of prematurity.
So it was very interesting that you mentioned some of the ways that premature babies are treated. And one of the things you mentioned was the mother's breast milk. Tell me, how does that compare to milk that is formula? And what does the breast milk have that formula does not?
Oh, wonderful. So with we call formula artificial milk. They try very hard to replicate milk, but it's very, very hard to come up with the precise composition of what's in breast milk. So it's not just protein and fats and sugars, that sort of thing, but it's all the live cells that are in breast milk. This boosts the baby's immune system, and that's what is so important to premature babies, because when they come very, very early, they are cut off from the placenta, where that mother would have been boosting that fetus's immune system. Now they're out here with us in this live world and full of bacteria and viruses. And so this breast milk is alive, and it has these cells in it, which stem cells. It allows the baby to heal and to grow. And so that alone is so important. It also has growth factors and hormones and antibodies, and it just, everything is just programmed for the baby. In fact, when a mother delivers a baby prematurely, her breast milk is changes slightly to accommodate the fact that this baby was premature. The the milk will be richer in protein and essential nutrients, because somehow nature knows that this baby came early and this mom needs to provide for the baby. And then as the baby gets older, her milk will change to a more mature milk. So our body is just so amazing to adapt to having a premature baby.
So the mother is encouraged to pump, and what is the milk frozen, or how is it preserved for the baby?
Precisely. So that pressure, we call it white gold, that milk, yes, we get those mothers to pump. And initially, they may get a teaspoon. That's it. Wow. But that is amazing. And we actually use it as immune therapy. We'll put a drop of that milk in their premature baby's mouth, just inside the lip or the side of the cheek. And the baby absorbs those live cells to be healing. And then eventually we'll be able to feed the baby by tube and hopefully by mouth, that will be able to give that precious milk. So yes, we will freeze it short term and use it as soon as the baby can take more and more.
Well, let's get to your book, because it's a fascinating book. It's just, I'm learning so much. The Preemie Care, which is a new essential resource for parents of premature babies. Tell us what parents can get out of your book.
Parents will, starting from the neonatal intensive care unit, starting from when they first find out we are having a premature baby, the first and foremost is going to be about the parents, what the parents can do when they're in this, exposed to this foreign environment of being a baby in the neonatal intensive care unit. It is overwhelming, and parents will feel very lost at sea. We definitely have a nautical theme through our book, and so we want to help parents very quickly figure out what their parent role is. So we start off saying, first of all, congratulations, you had a baby. This is exciting. I know it's early, but you're a mom, you're a dad. Congratulations. So first off, that needs to be said. And then what can they do when they're in that environment where all this high-tech equipment and skilled and knowledgeable healthcare workers are bustling about their baby, and this noisy, very intrusive environment? What can parents do there? And we just want parents to know there are essential things that they can do to take care of themselves and to learn and care for their baby. They don't just step back and say, well, just let me know when my baby's ready to come home. No, we know research shows that when parents are involved early, not only is it better for parents and feeling like a parent, but it's better for their baby. Their baby will go home sooner. Their baby will be in breast milk longer because they are more involved at the beginning.
Good. Can you tell us what inspired you to write Preemie Care?
Well, I run a very small team. We see about 150 babies a year. These are the tiniest babies in my city that my team follows. And I see the impact that our team can have on babies, on their development, on their feeding, and impact we can have on their families. We can help them decrease their stress, answer their questions, give them anticipatory guidance so that they know what to expect next instead of being surprised. And I see 150 success stories every year, but that's nowhere near enough families. And I don't know of another team of nurses that follows families beyond the hospital. And I'm sitting in their homes, on their floor, playing with their babies, stimulating their babies. I know what it's like in the first 4 months and year to take those babies home. And I just need... and parents, our parents in our program encourage me to say, you've got to write this down, because I have a cousin who lives in California and she needs this information. So yes, so we thought, you know what, we do need to share this. We can't just retire and say, well, that was a great career, but no, we need to have a bigger impact and share this information that we've learned from our families and from our babies.
Yeah, you mentioned about how previously premature babies were cared for in terms of not really stimulating them. I can think that, thinking that they're immunocompromised because they're so small. What are some other myths and misconceptions that Preemie Care debunks in your book? How to... I'm even thinking visitors that might come to your house once the premature baby is home. Is there any limitations?
Right.
Stimulation. So what are some other things that you mentioned specifically in your book that may, probably surprise us?
Yes. Two things come to mind. One is, and I think I mentioned it earlier, is that these babies are not simply small full-term babies. So we always have to think about, give them credit for the weeks that they didn't have in utero. So if they came 5 weeks early, 17 weeks early, we're going to keep that in mind when we are moving forward with that baby in terms of when are they going to sit and crawl and walk, and when can they start solids. And so the entire family has to be aware of this little change in age that we have. We call it corrected age. And so essentially we're correcting for the baby's prematurity so that if they're 9 months old and they're not standing yet, well, they're really not 9 months old. So we need to think of that first off, is the entire family has to be on the same page as to really, truly, what is the baby's true age. Secondly, protecting the baby from illness is every parent's job when they take their baby home, whether your baby's full-term or premature. But as you mentioned, these premature babies are immunocompromised, and they definitely need our protection to keep away from the common colds and viruses that we have around us. And so parents feel a little bit like police parents. They're like, before someone comes to visit, they're like, have you had the flu? Do you have fever? Do you have diarrhea? You have to be quite personal about these questions.
So.
And parents get like a little bit like, I feel bad asking these questions, and probably their family and friends are a little tired of them always asking. But it's front and foremost in their mind because they just spent 3 weeks or 3 months in the NICU and they don't want to go back or to any hospital. The chance of readmission for a premature baby can be as high as 80% in the first year. And the reason being is for a respiratory illness, a virus that they're going to catch. And it's going to affect their breathing and their feeding and their ability to sleep. And so that's going to drive these babies back to hospital. But if we can prevent that, then we're going to be one step ahead of keeping these babies healthy.
If one of our friends was listening and wanted to get in touch with you for more information, what would be the best way to reach you?
What is your website?
We're just Preemie Care. So if you preemiecare.ca.
Spell that for us.
PREEMIECARE.ca. Preemie Care. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. If you just search for Preemie Care, all one word. And they can get a hold of us through our email as well, which is preemiecare.info@gmail.com.
Well, this has been very informative, and I think that it's enlightening to have this information, especially from a nurse, since I am a nurse myself. Thank you for being here with us, Karen Lasby. You are a neonatal advanced nursing specialist and master's prepared nurse, author of Preemie Care, a guide to navigate the first year with a premature baby. So this is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College, along with co-host Pascal Thomas, who is completing her master's in education, and we want to thank you for listening to this week's edition of Your Family's Health.
We'd like to get your feedback on your family's health. Send your comments by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu. Podcasts of today's show are available on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This program was produced at the studios of Nassau Community College in cooperation with the nursing department. Join us next week for another edition of Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.